Welcome back to the Morning Brew here on CNC3, and thank you so much for staying with us. For our next interview, we're joined by the president of the Tobago Business Chamber, Mr. Martin George, and among the topics up for discussion is that of Carnival safe zones. Now, it was recently reported that the Tobago Business Chamber made an appeal to government to focus its energies and resources on other matters rather than pushing on with the proposed taste of Carnival. Mr. George, good morning and welcome.
Yeah, hi, good morning to you, Jesse, and good morning to Trinidad and Tobago.
You know, Mr. George, we were speaking off camera and I was remarking as to how young you continue to look and your level of vibrancy. And I just want to say on national TV that I really do think that you continue to really keep yourself looking fit and good, son. I'm hoping that you one day share the fountain of youth that you seem to have found, eh?
The secret is hard work.
Well, like I said, it doesn't always agree with some of us. You know, Mr. George, just reiterate some of your concerns with safe zone carnival events at this time.
Yeah, so the thing is, I mean, we've said repeatedly that the government ought to really focus on the basic fundamentals, which I think are, more pressing, respectfully. I mean, of course, we always are very respectful in our views, because look, for instance, forms 1 to 3 are supposed to return to school by February 7th. There are so many things that need to be put in place because, I mean, I've seen some reports where it's been said that, the school principals and teachers are the ones who will have to work out how this shift system will work for parents and children. I mean, the point is, these are things that I think are more pressing for parents because then they have to think in terms of making sure they get school uniforms, school books, etc. So really and truly, it does not appear realistic or feasible to be trying to push ahead with this half-baked duck of an idea to say, well, you're trying to have safe zone carnival at this point, particularly in Tobago. Jesse, even at the best of times, even with no pandemic, where you have full roaring carnival activities, right. Carnival in Tobago is usually very slow and very, if you understand me, compared to Trinidad.
Yeah.
So I am hoping that the THA would be able to use this opportunity to maybe persuade the government to look at this with fresh eyes. Because, Jesse, in every crisis, there's always opportunity. And what we are saying, and I mean, my personal view, is that Tobago should look at this as an opportunity for a reset. This whole idea of a Tobago carnival at the same time that Trinidad has carnival, I mean, I'm speaking generally here. We're not speaking pandemic. We're just speaking generally. I think that whole idea should be scrapped. We ought to have a nice, decent funeral and burial for the thing that we call Tobago Carnival. Forget it entirely. And I'll tell you why. It's a novel idea, but the point is it's realistic. Have your carnival in Tobago in the month of September, which is a traditionally slow period. There are two major benefits for that. If you think of it, Jesse, what's the main reason why most people flock to Tobago after Trinidad Carnival? It's to unwind and relax and stuff like that. So Tobago needs to understand what is the product it has. Basically, the product it has during Trinidad's Carnival is that it's the alternative. It's the escape from Trinidad's Carnival. So, when people want to escape the frenzied, frantic festivities of Trinidad Carnival, they go to Tobago. So therefore, why not make your whole carnival season the place of relaxation for everyone? You have so many groups like church groups, you have school groups, you have like Boy Scout, Girl Guides, who always would love to get to Tobago over the carnival period because they may not be participating in carnival. So therefore, push that idea and forget about the idea of having your activities at the same time trying to compete with Trinidad. Why would you even want to do that?
And let me just raise this here at this time, Mr. George. This idea of marketing and packaging Carnival in Tobago in a unique and different manner, separate and apart from what is taking place in Trinidad. Is it an idea that the chamber will be taking to the THA? Is it one that you guys intend to raise with them?
Yes, we do. We certainly do. Because, you see, let me tell you the next advantage, Jesse. Think of it. If we have a big Tobago carnival in September, you have so many advantages. First of all the people who played mass in Trinidad for February or March, they can keep their costumes. You encourage them, you say, look, keep your costume because you're coming to Tobago in September. We will be able to liaise with all the bands. We will talk to Dean Akin from Tribe, Dean Akin from Hearts, Dean Akin from all the other bands that he's associated with. We will be able to speak with, Ronnie and Caro and tell them, hey, listen, we having a carnival in Tobago in September. So therefore, you organize your band, come across to Tobago. So you think of the massive tourism boost you will get during that time. Persons who may not have been able to save up their money to afford in time for February in Trinidad, they could plan and say, okay, look, I'm going and hit Tobago in September, I'm going to the carnival in Tobago in September. You will have international visitors who could not make it for February, who may be able to come for September. And you mark, listen, I'll tell you why this is such a brilliant idea, Jesse. When the original Tobago Jazz used to be functioning, all right, that's the 3 years that CL Financial had it running.
Right.
Jesse, Tobago used to be so flooded with people and visitors. It was amazing. I mean, I would have friends in Trinidad who would call me and say, but Martin, what is happening, boy? All the streets in Trinidad quiet. And I would tell them it's because everybody's in Tobago.
Right.
And so it's the same idea you have. So you can have this now occurring in September, and you will now have a massive product that you will sell. So therefore, you get an inflow of visitors in the February-March period for the relaxation. So you tell them, look, there are no carnival activities. This is just relaxation, enjoyment, etc. I mean, of course, if people want to throw their private fetes, that's no problem. But the fact of the matter is you sell the peace and tranquility at that time, and you get more visitors coming there. And then for September, everybody gears up for that. And now, well, this is the big event in Tobago. And then you now have an even greater influx of people coming across to Tobago. You see, the point is, Jesse, sometimes we have to think at things differently. We have to look at things differently, think outside the box.
Correct.
Because if you keep doing the same thing, the same way all the time, you can't expect different results. So I think that this is a wonderful opportunity, and we have to be realistic. We have to be practical and pragmatic. And you listen even to the stakeholders. They are telling you that there's not enough time to try and get this safe zone idea going with any realistic possibility.
And there's where I want to ask you this, Mr. George. For those who have the appetite for a taste of Carnival, no pun intended there, but and are looking forward to some sort of event in the shortest possible time, and their counter-argument is that it'll still help generate some sort of economic activity over in Tobago. I've heard your argument and I've heard the points you've raised, but for the near future, for those who are hoping that this can be some sort of a lifeline to them, what would you say to them?
Well, I would listen to the artists, I would listen to the stakeholders, I would listen to the singers, the calypsonians, the soca divas. You heard even Patrice came out and spoke against it and said, look, this doesn't make sense. You heard one of the promoters' organizations come out and say, well, look, this doesn't make sense because the time frame is too short. So therefore, if these are the people who are on the ground and involved in it, and they're the ones saying it doesn't make sense, then, I mean, I would listen to them because they would know. You see, and that's the challenge. So, I mean, we have to understand the practicality. And I think that, I mean, look at yesterday. We had over 600 new cases of COVID. So I would think that really at this point, we have more pressing priorities in the country. The death rate in Trinidad in terms of the COVID is alarming. So we have things that I think are more urgent in the grand scheme of things than trying to rush through with this idea of trying to put the safe zone carnival. In fact, I saw even some of the PAN organizations in Tobago were complaining and saying, look, this doesn't make sense because most of their players are unvaccinated. Right. So they say that, look, what is the point of you having that? So therefore, even, as I say, the stakeholders, the persons involved are pushing back against it. So, I mean, who is this being done for?
Mr. George, the pandemic undoubtedly has caused a lot of shifting tides to take place locally, regionally, internationally. And one of the conversation is that, and what I'm getting from you is that now is an opportune time for Tobago to reset. How, therefore, I mean, apart from Carnival events, Tobago is well known for other festivities, other very well-known products that are Tobago-oriented. Are you guys, as head of the Tobago Chamber, are you also looking at revisiting some of these other festivities and perhaps changing its format and the way it's packaged, branded, and presented as well?
Well, I would hope that that is high on the list of priorities for this new THA administration. And I'll tell you why. Even some of the traditional, as you say, Tobago festivals, you know, I think that they've become a bit tired and jaded, and there's need to inject new life into them. Even what they call the Tobago jazz, it's nowhere near what the original jazz used to be. You know, I mean, I was there for all the 3 years of the really great Tobago Jazz Festival. You know, I mean, you had people like Rod Stewart, you had P. Diddy, you had, you know, so many different Shakira, Elton John, you know, you had so many different people coming to Tobago, you know. So the fact of the matter is that they need to look at these things with fresh eyes, see how you can repackage, rebrand it. Because listen, that's part of the cycle of life, that's part of the cycle of business. Look, even St. Lucia Jazz, which was successful for years, they repackaged and rebranded their festival, you know. So the fact of the matter is that Tobago needs to start looking at that in terms of how they now sell their product. And they need to understand, first of all, what is the product they have? What are they selling? What is your market? Who are you selling it to? And then now try to tap into the best and most effective way of doing that.
Mr. George, I know we can continue this conversation. It's a point I also made to you off air that, you know, you have so many ideas and so many thoughts on so many different things, but we just had to tailor it specifically to the Carnival Safe Zone. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on it. We hear the points you're making, and we look forward to whatever feedback and outcome comes out of the conversation and the intentions and the proposals that the Chamber intends to put forward. Mr. George, thank you so very much, and do enjoy the rest of your day, sir.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Have a great morning.
Thank you, sir. We'll now pause for another short commercial break. We've got lots more in stock for you. Stay with us.